Hello, and welcome to Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the cross-dressing cyclist, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello,
Hey
Al. Today we're going to do something new. No, not because we planned to do this, but because everything kind of just fell apart on us. So, here's what's going to happen. 1, Al is going to drink a beer, and he's going to talk about it. 2, I'm going to sit here and drink scotch, because I couldn't find the beer that Al was going to drink. So we had to call an audible. I also had no beer in the house that was worth drinking.
Fair.
We're going to talk about 2 particular items that we'll get into. I'm not going to reveal them just yet. I'll let Al explain their background before we get into them. But first, Al, what are you drinking?
Well, I decided since you would not be partaking that I would drink, sorry. I was distracted.
I just watched you just drift off. I could see you, and you just drift off.
I received, no, I didn't. I received a crucially important text message that I was referring to, that I can't ignore. Otherwise, there will be consequences. I am drinking an Al's Ale. The Al's Ale Amber Ale, which I've mentioned in the past. What?
I want to hear about these consequences.
There's a text from my dad, and if I don't answer him, then he's going to badger me, and then he's going to come downstairs, and he's going to yell and say, "Why didn't you answer me?" And then that's going to be on the recording, and that might be fun for the audience.
For the fans, it feels like you're doing a disservice if you do answer. Just saying.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but he's not likely to say something funny. He's just going to sound mean and ornery.
Hilarious if you're not on the receiving end.
So it might be good for the audience. It might not. But in the off chance that it's not, I'm going to avoid it and answer him. So anyway, Al's Ale's Amber Ale, that I've coined as the Quadrilogy because of the 4 A's, which I'm drinking out of my engraved Al's Ale's mug that your sister Carly got for me.
Nice.
I figured it was perfectly fitting, and it perfectly fit the amount of beer.
Look at that.
It is
As if it were planned.
Right?
Beautiful.
I feel like Hannibal Smith?
Dead.
The A-Team?
Gotcha.
Love it when a good plan comes together.
Gotcha. I'm going to cheers you on that.
Cheers.
I'm drinking some Glenfiddich Signature 12-year, which we are certainly not sponsored by.
Oh, definitely not. I would love to be, even though this is a beer and movie podcast and
Quite
not
delicious.
a Scotch podcast. If we did this, especially when we do our batch recordings, could you imagine how fucking wasted we'd be by the last episode?
Oh my god. Those episode 3s are always fantastic. It's that 4th one where things get a little shady.
I know. And we both love Scotch, so it goes down easy. And we would kill a bottle and be like, oh my god, where did it all go?
We'd understand each other.
No one would understand
But that's
us.
not great for everybody else.
Yeah, so my Amber Ale, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's the best beer that I've ever made.
Oh, dang. Better than the last one?
What?
Better than that last one you gave me?
The
1.5?
1.5 IPA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so for a couple of reasons. One, unlike the 1.5 IPA, this came out exactly how I wanted it to when I planned it.
Okay.
Which I weight that pretty heavily, that when I pictured this beer in my mind, it came out exactly what I wanted it to be. Not just the numbers, stuff like IBUs and SRM, stuff like that. The way it tastes is what I kind of envisioned. I mean, I've never had this particular combination of hops in a beer before or this exact malt. But what I was picturing from an Amber Ale, the level of darkness, both visually and how malty it tasted, the level of bitterness came out basically what I was looking for from the beginning. It's very well balanced. It's a little bit on the malt forward side, but you will have some nice residual bitterness that sits on the tongue as you finish drinking it, and that enhances itself as it warms during the course of the beer. Yes, enhance. That definitely, it shifts from being slightly malt forward to being slightly hop forward as the beer warms up and the hops kind of awaken on the palate. It's a little bit caramelly. You can see it through here. It's It's
You're
brown.
doing a very good job of making my mouth water. I
That's
want
the
the
idea,
beer.
man. You're supposed to want to drink these beers. You
Yeah,
know, that's
well done.
that's why we do this, right? We pick a beer, and with the exception of one or two, we've pretty much liked all of them, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And the very, very, very little bit of feedback we've gotten from our audience, people have reached out and said, "Hey, I wanted to try that beer," and I did. That
Nice.
you guys mentioned. So
Awesome.
obviously, that doesn't work the same way for the
well.
Alzales because
They just have to tweet at you. You'll get it for them.
Hey, if you guys want to contact us, we're waiting. We're waiting to hear. We'd love for it. We'd love to hear.
Al will hand deliver you beer wherever you are in the world. That is a fact.
Actually, well, it's not going to be hand delivered anywhere in the world, and it may not be shipped because there's weird laws about that.
You're going back on my promises, Al, and I don't appreciate it. You don't really see. This was working out for me. There was no involvement on my part, and it was going to be a great deal for everybody else.
If someone actually engages us with the Twitter account, because we have not gotten any real engagement on the Twitter account from our fans, if someone engages us on the Spinchoon Twitter account, we'll see if we can find you an Alzale.
Or just tweet directly at Al. And you know what?
Or me.
Just badger Al. If you continue to do that, I'll hand deliver it. Within a 50-mile radius of where I live.
Tell two friends.
That sounds delightful, and I will be trying that this weekend.
Next week? Yeah.
Yeah. It's coming up quick. These weekends just fly by. Future
Hopefully,
agenda, Dunkirk is on the list, obviously.
Hopefully next week, or in one of the very soon to come weeks, we'll have a special little surprise for our audience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we mentioned it on air before, so I didn't want to say anything.
I'm not sure if we did either, so we're going to leave it at that.
I'm just going to say
If
there's
we
a special
did,
surprise coming.
Tweet at us.
Yes, tweet at us, and we will reveal to you what the surprise is.
Awesome.
And obviously follow us on Twitter.
Definitely very excited to have a taste of that beer. Why don't you go ahead and give a little preface to the two films in light quotes that we'll be covering?
Well, do you want to get into that, or do you want to do our stuff about the conventions? That have been recent?
There's a lot of stuff going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some stuff coming up.
Well, first, let's let them know what we'll be talking about, but then I'll get into the history.
Yeah, just keep burying the lead. I like this.
Okay, yeah, fine. Let's go to the convention stuff.
The first thing that came to mind, I had mentioned this a little bit before we recorded, is that there's a Avengers Infinity War, like, first 3.5 minutes floating around out there. And no, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything, because I actually stopped watching it because I put it on and I was real excited. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait for this. I'm going to put this on right now. And I watched it, and it's somebody's shaky cam. It's leaked footage. It's not like fully released or anything like that. They're not going to actually fully release that because it's actually like the beginning of the movie. But it starts out, I'm real excited. Everybody in the crowd is cheering for the first scene that happens, and I'm excited too, and I'm about ready to cheer, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to see this until the movie comes out. So I abruptly ended, and I'll be watching that with the rest of you. But that excites me, that to see that it's like, it's a thing. And I know we know it's a thing, it's coming out, but it's like there's actual stuff to see, and that's great.
I hadn't heard. Have they wrapped principal photography, or are they still doing that?
I don't know. I would imagine so, based on...
If they haven't wrapped, it's got to be coming really close.
Yeah, exactly. I would think they have. I'm sure that's information that we could easily find out, but...
We'll leave it to you, the audience.
Yeah. Go with what you feel. Just decide. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. It doesn't really affect you much.
No, it doesn't really affect how we talk about it here either, so...
No. I guess the worst case scenario is that they're not done and somebody crucial dies. And friggin' people are dying all over the place. So
I know. It's been a rough run on that front recently.
pouring out for Chester, am I right?
I know.
What a hit that was. That caught me by surprise. I obviously a huge fan of Linkin Park growing up.
Yeah, me too.
First
that was
real concert that I saw.
It wasn't the first, but it was one of the best I've seen.
Oh yeah, they put on a tremendous show.
A few years ago at Jones Beach, and they were incredible. I know you said it was a pretty unique experience, at least the one time you saw them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw when I originally saw them the first time. It was the first time that they did a live collaboration with Jay-Z.
Oh, okay.
And nobody knew it was coming, so that was awesome to see in person. But that show was just fantastic. They're, true to track sound live, and it's like it was unreal. They had such a presence on stage.
Was that the one where they came up out of the floor?
that was a different one. That was bananas. That was at MSG.
Oh, okay.
And it was like the music starts playing, and you're like, "But where's the band?" and then all of a sudden, they're just like rising from underneath the ground, and like, "This is amazing!" So cool.
I remember you describing it to me. That did sound really cool.
And another I was a huge fan of, obviously, of Blink-182 growing up. So it was actually surprising, I'm sure, to you that I didn't have tickets to this Blink-182 Linkin Park concert that was coming around. But I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't end up purchasing them. And the other day, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I was, trying to save some money. I was like, I'm not going to get them. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do this. I was going to go buy the tickets. Something happened. A few minutes later, you texted me. And I was like...
Oh, that day, really?
Yeah. And I was like, damn. Like, that really put a damper on things.
Yeah, it's sad you can never tell with this sort of thing. I know, at least initially, I don't know if I haven't followed the story afterwards, but I know at least initially they ruled it a suicide. I had actually heard him in the news and stuff in the past few months. I mean, he apparently was really close with Chris Cornell, who unfortunately also committed suicide recently. And, he did a bunch of stuff. He wrote a big letter that he released to the public about his passing, and he performed a song at Cornell's funeral. And I think what I was seeing, I didn't fact check it, but what I was seeing was that the day that Chester actually committed suicide was Chris Cornell's birthday. So that's a whole weird thing. And those are two of my favorite artists, and both of them to be gone in just a couple months like that is rough. I've seen both of them in concert.
Yeah, that's a shame. Our thoughts are with their families.
Yeah, definitely. I think both of them. Well, I'm pretty sure Chester had kids and everything, right? So
I think 6.
Yeah, it was a real
shame.
So it was a few of them. So that's incredibly sad.
Yeah. Moving on to lighter news. There's one particular thing that I need to touch on from I think it was debuted at San Diego Comic-Con, but the trailer dropped for Ready Player One, and
yes,
I am a huge fan of that book. If you're a fan of this show, if you're a fan of movies in the vein that Al and I are a fan of movies, and you grew up with movies, and you're a fan of 90s and 80s culture, go read that book and then go see this movie, because oh my lord, is it chock full of references.
Yeah.
So many references.
It's funny, I never heard of the book until I heard that they were adapting it for a movie, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and read it.
It is such a blast. Like, it's such a ride, that whole book. I love it. And a lot of it too, there's there'll be quotes that are just straight pulls from movies that you love, or scenes that are straight pulls. There'll be references that are deep cuts that work in the scene in the book. And then if you're not paying attention or you're not familiar with it, it's just dialogue or it's just text on a page. But if you get them, they're hilarious. And there's so many, and they're so well thought out. I love it. And I can't wait to see what they do with this movie.
Yeah, I'm curious about it at the very least, because like you said, it's a kind of a lot of the stuff that we both cut our teeth on as
for sure.
Kids, teenagers, whatever.
And I think it's hang on, I'm trying to grab. I think it's Miles Teller is in this sucker, if I remember correctly.
Is he the one?
Is he in this one? I'm trying to remember.
I remember seeing the trailer quick, and I didn't realize that was him.
I'm not certain. I remember hearing. I feel like I remember hearing his name attached way back when.
That may make me not want to go see it because
You don't like him? Oh,
I'm not really a fan of him. No.
I'm a big fan of him. But, anywho.
Oh wow, this has got a really good cast.
I'm excited for that movie. It's gonna be good. It's
got an okay cast. Sorry. Mark Rylance, Ben Mendelsohn, T.J. Miller, Simon Pegg.
Come on, you gotta love you some Simon Pegg.
No, obviously you know, and anyone who's listened knows that I very much enjoy Simon Pegg's work.
Mm-hmm. Were there any particular announcements that you were?
Well, they put the new Justice League trailer, which was interesting because it showed the first look at was it Steppenwolf? Is that who it is?
Yeah, I believe so.
Which that was interesting.
See, it's not really a first look though. If you saw the director's cut of Batman v Superman, which is really strange.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that he actually made an appearance in that.
And we're not going to go on a tangent aside from why in the hell. That's it. I'm leaving it at that.
I mean, there's a lot of big news DC related period that's come out. They announced that the Flash movie will be Flashpoint, which is really big for any big comic book nerds. I have never really read any of those, but I am aware of what Flashpoint is and how important that is. Yeah. So that's an interesting bit of news coming out. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I think it probably... I'm seeing speculation that it plays into these rumors that Ben Affleck may be on the way out as Batman.
Right.
Because Flashpoint would be an avenue for them to get out of Affleck as Batman.
Very true.
So I'm curious to see how they go with all of that. They're making it the worst kept secret, and this isn't a spoiler because the worst kept secret in the world, and I said this from the second that Batman vs. Superman ended, but it's becoming very poorly hidden that Henry Cavill is going to return as Superman in Justice League because they announced that they're doing a whole shit ton of reshoots that are going to cost like 2 or 3 times the amount of money that reshoots normally take, and that there was an issue with Henry Cavill who's going to be in Mission Impossible 6, and he's not allowed to shave his mustache, so it's making issues.
Wait, who wasn't allowed to shave his mustache?
Henry Cavill is not allowed to shave his mustache because of his role in Mission Impossible 6. Amazing. So during these reshoots, they're talking about having to digitally remove his mustache.
Yes.
Playing Superman.
Yes, this is great. Just set this whole thing on fire.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, in typical DC fashion, we're gonna fuck this up too.
In all of the big things that are gonna go wrong, and then there's these little things too. This is great.
Yeah. They're talking about in post production digitally removing his mustache on screen.
Oh man, I can't wait to watch this train wreck. I would just want to touch back. I did a quick search. I was wrong. I feel like Miles Teller was attached to the movie, but
I did a quick scan of it. I didn't see him on.
So it's not the case.
Okay. There was supposedly, I mean, this isn't a movie, but it's still tied with all that stuff. And you mentioned it, or I mentioned it to you earlier before. The Defenders comes out next month on Netflix. I'm a big fan of Marvel Netflix shows.
I need to catch up on Luke Cage and what's the other one? Iron
Fist.
Iron Fist. I need to watch both of those. I
enjoyed both. They weren't as good as Daredevil or Jessica Jones, but I still liked both of them. Mm-hmm. So they supposedly they secretly screened the whole first episode, which I thought that was cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And also they showed a little bit more of John Bernthal as the Punisher. And I don't remember if they ever confirmed whether he was going to be in the Defenders, even in a small role or not. But I'm going to guess whether they've confirmed it or not. I'm going to guess that he's going to be in it.
Sweet. I was I was interested in the Walking Dead teaser.
Yeah, I unfortunately I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, but I did hear that it's around.
I do love to hate and love that show.
They're getting really close to losing me, honestly.
Yeah, I'm as you know, I'm a huge fan of the comic, and I love where it is right now, and I want to see how they incorporate some of the things that have happened in the series on television. I think that would be really awesome.
I wasn't sure if you were still reading. Did you hear that came out not necessarily with that, but or it wasn't like a part of the announcement, but I think because Robert Kirkman was there for it, someone asked him, and he said that he basically has in mind how he's going to end, and that the end is coming.
Yeah. So in previous interviews that I've listened with him, he's known for quite some time how it ends.
But it sounds like he's kind of.
But he is working towards it.
Dialing more into it now.
Yeah, it sounds like they're working towards it, which is cool. I'm fine with that. There's a lot out there already, and somehow the comic keeps getting better. Like, there's always something new happening in a really interesting way that makes it really fun and engaging to read. I don't think there's been an issue of the comic where I felt like, I don't know, 3/4 of the series episodes are, but I'm always engaged, and I want to see how they translate that.
The thing I found interesting about that was that there had been rumors, or he had kind of played around with the fact that Rick may well die before the end, but it sounds like he's now all but confirmed Rick will die before the end.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. If they do that, you know it's going to be in a really badass way. That's the best part about it. Is that there's been like every death of a meaningful character. They've talked about this too on like Talking Dead and things like that. It's just a piece of art when they go. It's usually just really awesome, and the comic, it does it in ways beyond, because you're going to see a lot more, and they can go a little bit crazier, I feel like, because it's not on AMC. You know what I mean? Like, if Walking Dead was an HBO show, it would be the best show on television. That's how,
for a while it was, or it was at least the most popular, but the quality, unfortunately, I think has suffered from.
No, it has. It absolutely has suffered.
Mostly cowardice.
It's also advertising and grabbing money and losing out on showtime to more commercials and extending the seasons so that they can get more money.
The money grab thing is tied to the cowardice.
Yeah. Ugh. There's a lot of frustrating things in that show, but I still continue to watch it, and I will tune in every week for it. Fear of the Walking Dead can burn in hell, though.
this past season was the first time that I seriously considered stop watching the show. Yeah. I didn't get there. I'll be watching when the next season comes out, but I've got a pretty short leash at this point.
Yeah. I feel there was one season I felt that way. We actually watched the finale in your basement on the season that I didn't care for at all.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, this is garbage. I don't even care. Like, some people died. I was like, yeah, good. Screw them. You're taking up too much of my time.
It's not even that. It's the structure of the show at this point, with the way they've parsed it out. It's like they've truly embodied the whole idea of content creators as heroin dealers, where they just give you enough to keep coming back, but they're not going to give you what you want, and they're not going to commit fully to anything because they don't want to alienate people, but that's actually having the reverse effect. They're alienating people with their cowardice and the way that they're parsing this out, where you can watch the premiere and the finale, and then you can like boil down the middle 6 episodes or whatever to
100%.
1 hour's worth of watching time, and like if someone created you a supercut of all the best parts of that's all you need to watch.
Right.
And so I'm getting to the point where the equation's almost balancing. Is it worth watching at all? Because that hour spread across 6 hours worth me spending the time.
Well, here's what I would say. The only thing that and this is probably, brilliant on their part. The only thing that keeps me tuning in weekly for it is I really enjoy Talking Dead. Following it, I like Chris Hardwick, and I enjoy.
I like him a lot too.
Show.
I don't watch that often.
That's why I watch it every week. If it wasn't for that show, I think I would be at the point where I would wait for each half season to finish, and I would binge it, and I would really enjoy it that way. I'd do it in like a weekend, because realistically, we're talking it's like 20 episodes, or actually half a season is probably like, is it 10 or it's about 12, something like that.
They're doing it's been in batches of 14 or 16. It's like 7 or 8 and a half.
So, but they're really, they're on TV for an hour, but they're really like 35 minutes.
Is it that bad now?
It's really bad.
Huh.
The last season was there was one particular episode where I timed it, and I was like, "Are you Fucking kidding me. Like, I was outraged.
I mean, the episodes in the fall, I don't have much of an issue usually, because I usually watch Sunday Night Football. So I'll usually fast forward to the commercials anyway.
Right. Yeah, that helps. Anyway, Walking Dead.
Let's get back to the episode.
Walking Dead, it's a love-hate relationship. Moving on.
At this point, we should probably just get to the episode, because we've spent longer than I imagined we were going to spend.
Yeah, sure. We can do what we want. It's fine.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about from the cons?
No, it's not from the cons. It's actually, I just want to touch on a text that you sent me that I've been sharing with every person that I come across that is a Star Wars fan, and that is the High Ground Robot Chicken skit. That is absolutely incredible. So if you are a Star Wars fan, look up High Ground Robot Chicken and just enjoy. Laugh your ass off.
It's only about a minute long.
Oh my god. High Ground! It's amazing.
I didn't realize how much that resonated with you.
Oh my, I was in tears. I was laughing so hard.
I know you texted me back and you were like, oh, that's funny, you enjoyed it, but
no.
I didn't realize it resonated with you like that, where you were spreading it from the hilltops. That's great.
There's one scene where he throws his arms back and his head back and he goes, High Ground.
Yeah.
That's the one that got me.
That's great.
Not the High Ground way, the Jedi way.
Yeah, it's not the Jedi way.
Oh, beautiful.
Wait, are you robbing me right now?
Are you kidding me?
Are you robbing me right now? Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I've got the High Ground.
Brilliant. Seriously, definitely check that out. We should put a link to that in the video, in the post when we send this up.
I can make that happen.
Let's make that happen. Moving on. I'm good. I'm good on news. Okay, sorry. There was one more thing. There was I saw this article. It's Batman standalone film has a title, and then I was reading it, and it's and the title is The Batman, and I was like, yep, fucking yeah, we know. What is that surprising?
No, I thought that's been known for a while.
It apparently was the working title, and it is now confirmed.
Fucking DC can't even get the title right.
Just stop. Batman? Batman, you say? All right. Into the episode.
We're going to talk about the ongoing kind of a series on HBO, the HBO partnership of Andy Samberg. Starting with a couple years ago, I think it was 2015 it came out.
I
2015.
Confirm that it is 2015.
7 Days in Hell, which starred Andy Samberg and HBO's Kit Harington from Game of Thrones.
HBO's own.
Well, I mean, that's why he's involved, is because he's become a star through HBO's patronage or whatever, as the excellent Jon Snow portrayal. So I thought that was just a one-time thing where if anyone is not familiar... What?
As did I.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was just a one-time standalone thing. I had no idea it was an ongoing partnership. It was funny as hell. I enjoyed watching that a couple years ago. But the thing is, I remember when that one was coming out, they promoted the shit out of that. I guess it's not really a movie. It's like a mockumentary. Mm-hmm. It's only 45 minutes long. But I remember when it was coming out.
45 million minutes of brilliance.
Yeah, it is. But we'll get to that. I remember they promoted the shit out of it on HBO. After everything you watch, I think they even made commercials onto cable, on actual commercials for it. And so I remember it was coming out for a month or two. So I literally had no idea that there was a second one coming out until maybe a week before, and it was because I saw a story written on The Ringer, which HBO is a primary investor on. And for anyone who doesn't know what The Ringer is, it's Bill Simmons' website that was a successor to Grantland, which was an ESPN spinoff, or it was under the ESPN umbrella. Bill Simmons created it. It was one of my favorite websites of all time. I very nearly shed a tear when they said that Grantland was dead, because it was a brilliant website of movies, pop culture, music, TV, sports, obviously, because it's ESPN. It died because Bill Simmons is an asshole with a gigantic ego, and because it cost a shit ton of money to run.
How you really feel, Al?
I am telling you how I really feel because he's a pain in the ass whose single best talent is assembling excellent talent, which is a talent, and he should be compensated well for that. But he thought that people were coming to Grantland for him, and no one was fucking coming to Grantland for him. No one cares what he thinks or has to say. But he has a tremendous eye for talent, for bringing other writers and creators on and marketing them and putting them in a position to make awesome shit. So he went to The Ringer, and he has a famous quote that's thrown in his face constantly because when they moved to The Ringer, which is like the kind of the flagship website of Medium, and he's already pissed Medium off, and I think by the end of this year they're leaving Medium now too. So he said the great thing about what?
We're not.
We're not. His line was the great thing about excellent content is no matter where you go, people are going to find it. And that was thrown in his face for like a full year because no one was going to read The Ringer. Because, like me, they were fucking pissed that Grantland fell apart because there was no reason for it to. And HBO ended up throwing a bunch of money at them, which is good because The Ringer is a decent site because it's a lot of the same, not all of them, unfortunately, but a lot of the good writers from The Ringer, from Grantland followed him to The Ringer, but he had a show on HBO as well, which got canned really fast because, again, no one actually cares what he has to say. It's his vision for putting these things together, and that's what he's great at. And if he understood that, no one would have any issues with him, you know what I mean?
Right.
I digress. There was a story on The Ringer interviewing with Andy Samberg talking about the upcoming Tour de Pharmacy that came out a couple weeks ago, the second in this piece. I was like, oh, shit, I had no idea they were doing a second one. Why don't I know this? Because I heard about 7 Days in Hell for weeks or even months before it actually came out. So Tour de Pharmacy is actually the second of, it's a 3-film, if you will, partnership between Andy Samberg and HBO. So there will be another one in probably 2 more years that they'll be doing. And this whole thing was about making this one and having made the first one. So I was like, okay, now I got to watch this one. So we decided, I talked to Anthony about this a week or so ago, that since he enjoys Andy Samberg, I enjoyed these things. He had seen 7 Days in Hell, and just like me, he had no idea that there was another one coming out. We said, they're both 45 minutes long. They're going to be very similar thematically and everything. Let's do them all in one cool episode, and here we are.
Nice breakdown.
My not so succinct, but very breakdown.
More details, the better. It gives me more time to drink my scotch.
Careful over there.
Let me tell you something.
So I have that scotch that you gave me, and it is it's just great.
Excellent. I'm glad you're liking it. It's one of my favorites. So let's get into Tour de Pharmacy because Al and I had discussed this a little bit earlier, but there's these two movies. They're very funny, but one of them is amazing, and that is 7 Days in Hell. So we're gonna start low.
We're gonna save best for last.
Exactly. Tour de Pharmacy is hysterical. I don't spoilers, whatever. I don't think I don't really think this warrants a disclaimer.
Listen, you're gonna see it in the title. I know it took us forever to actually tell you what we're watching, but you'll see it in the title when the episode comes up. It'll take you 45 minutes for each one. Right. Just sit down and watch it. It's on HBO on Go. Like, you can get it instantly. Just knock them out and listen. Or if not, just listen because we're not spoiling any. Well, maybe the ending of 7 Days in Hell we'll have spoiled. We'll give them a spoiler right before the ending of that one.
Fair.
But it's not going to ruin your experience hearing us talk about this if you haven't seen it. And you'll still laugh your ass off if you hear us spoil it for you first and go see it. Because I rewatched 7 Days in Hell for this. And I think I laughed harder the second time and appreciated more the second time than the first time.
After watching Tour de Pharmacy and going back to it, I appreciated even more what they had done.
Because I told you when I saw it, like, oh, I think I liked 7 Days in Hell just a little bit better than Tour de Pharmacy. And then I rewatched 7 Days in Hell. I was like, oh my gosh, this is almost perfect.
Right.
Like, it's so good. Tour de Pharmacy is good. 7 Days in Hell is excellent.
Tour de Pharmacy is over the top.
Yes.
It's like but in a way, it's like perfect sequel material.
Well, that's kind of the one thing that I would knock it for is you can tell, I think, that they decided, oh, we have to go bigger than we did in 7 Days in Hell.
Right.
And I think that that's where it misses the mark a little at times.
I agree with that.
Because I think they were just, well, all the things we did there, not that it's like rehashing, because they did do it differently. It was a focus on a bigger cast of characters, whereas 7 Days in Hell is really just about the 2 characters. Mm-hmm. So I think that some of the stuff that they did bigger was excellent, but sometimes that's where it falls short, I think.
Yeah. One thing that stands out to me about this movie, this mockumentary, that's really fantastic and what makes it so funny, every character, every actor, or actress, but there's not a lot of women in the movie. There's only
just the woman who played
the
older version of the man who was actually a woman.
Right. The man playing the woman playing the man.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But every character is the butt of the joke when they are on screen.
Yes.
There's nobody... Everybody's... Like, you can make fun of everybody. That's the whole point. Like, you're laughing at everyone. I feel like there's not a single person you don't laugh at.
Yeah, which is tremendous. And that was actually something in this Ringer article about this one. Andy Samberg was talking about how, considering they got both a lot of actors to ham it up and do this, they also got a lot of people to play themselves.
Right. Oh, my God.
Oh, no, hang on. I know where you're going to go.
Go on.
And all of them, he said, it's surprising, he goes, especially I think a lot of people enjoyed the first one and realized what we're trying to do, and it's like, that made it way easier to convince these people to come on and make an ass of themselves, because the point is they're not getting laughed at and not realizing it. They're going on and getting laughed at because that's the whole point of it.
Right.
And it's easier to get someone to buy in when you know that going in, right? Mm-hmm.
That's so funny. I was actually going to mention J.J. Abrams, because I thought he was hysterical, because he does this one scene and he delivers a line and then he asks them to hold on, I can do that better.
Yes.
He delivers it. He's like directing himself, and that cracked me up. I love that.
And he also said, "Save that line. I want to use it in one of my movies."
That was great. Oh my God, it's so silly.
And it's funny because it's like, why the hell is J.J. Abrams even in this?
Right.
Which, that was something I felt a little bit with both. It was a little bit different, but it was similarity. Like, there was a couple people in this who were playing themselves, and I'm like, they have no business being in this thing talking about a bike. Like, Mike Tyson, they literally just had him in there to tell a story about how he became a boxer because he beat the shit out of someone who stole his bike.
The Mike Tyson storyline, though, this is the one that got me cracking up. So, the storyline that you get, it like you just said, he loved riding his bike, but his bike got stolen from him. He found the guy that got his bike. He beat the shit out of him, and then realized he's much better at fighting. And then he became a fighter. That's it. Yes. That's the whole thing. Then later, that's early.
Yes.
The very end of this, what is it? Is it Joe Buck? You find out was the person who got his ass kicked by Mike Tyson, and he doesn't know who beat him up. He just like, some guy beat me up and took my bike. And that one floored me.
And also, like, the fact that they showed the whole thing as an 8-bit recreation, like it was on Nintendo.
Like Punch-Out?
Yes.
Yeah. That was fantastic.
You don't have actual video, but this is what it would look like if it was on Punch-Out.
Yeah. Oh my God. Because also, the other part of it, too, is like there's like the footage that's really funny. Like they do this older footage, like this 20-year-old fake footage that they make.
And they said, too, that for both of these, the mockumentaries, they went and got old cameras to actually shoot it on those old, to make it look like it was shot in those times.
That is so great. I love that. There's a really funny, we mentioned him earlier before the show, but Juju Pepe, played by Orlando Bloom. Now this mockumentary opens up with you see him. He's up ahead in the head. He's in the front of the race. He's pulling away. What's that? By a lot. Yeah, by a very significant amount. This is where you realize that they've already gone overboard. Is where like 30 seconds into the movie and there's a penis, which that's just like I feel like that's Andy Samberg trademark is to have a penis in whatever he does.
There's two things, right? There's 30 seconds in you see a penis, and 90 seconds in you already know that Orlando Bloom's character Juju Pepe will die during the course of the race.
Yes.
90 seconds,
which is amazing. They're just going hard. Like this is how it's gonna. No, no pun intended there. But they're like that's like they kill him off right away. His heart explodes, right? And then he coasts for like a mile, and then he just goes off a cliff.
It was more than a mile. I think they said it was like 15 miles or something like that. It was a huge downhill section.
Over for the airflow.
Yeah, it was a huge downhill section. He slumped on the bike handles and just kept rolling down a hill for like miles, and then crashed off the cliff.
Yeah. Well,
and that's when they figured out that he died.
And another thing that got me in relation to his story, they were like later on in the movie, they show another clip of him, like prior to it, and like we'll hear more, like we'll find out what happens to him later. Well, he dies.
Yeah,
because we showed you that already.
Yeah.
I was like,
also, John Hamm narrated both of these.
Did he?
Yeah, I didn't realize. I thought he just did 7 Days in Hell. He actually did both of them.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm pretty sure.
What did you think about the whole Lance Armstrong shtick?
See, that was funny, even though I can't stand that guy. He redeemed himself, call it like 3%, because he did agree to come in and laugh at himself. I thought they probably took the joke too far, but it is funny that they set him up like one of those people in witness protection.
Right.
They modulated his voice, and they put him in the shadow.
Yeah.
And progressively, over the course of it, they reveal his face and change his voice, and you clearly can tell it's Lance Armstrong.
It's amazing. So what's funny about that?
Making fun of himself and shit. Like that was funny.
That was cool. I did like that. Like again, every character is the butt of the joke. But like what's funny? They totally Family Guy that for me, because it was funny the first time, and then it was just like whatever. And then by the end, when he's like in like the puffy like whatever fur coat that he's got on, and the cowboy hat, I'm like, where the hell did the cowboy hat come from? That was just, oh man, I was just cracking up.
And it's funny. Actually, when you just think of like the little notes, kind of a through line between the two of them, which means I'm sure he'll be in the third one as well, is Chris Romano. He's also known as Romansky. He's the guy who like created Blue Mountain State. He was one of the main characters in Blue Mountain State.
He should just be casted as the penis.
Yeah, because both of them, he very clearly just released, like, shows his full on penis, like full frontal. And that's just, I guess, is going to be his through line. He was the streaker in 7 Days in Hell. He's one of the racers, and he's wearing like a mesh see-through onesie.
Yep.
And he tears it off, and his dick's just flopping around. And
John Cena's whipping him around in the air.
Yeah, John Cena's got him up over his shoulders and is whipping him around. Casting John Cena as the guy who everyone knows is on steroids on the bike is fucking hysterical.
It's great. Gustav Ditters is now swinging the man around and using his feet to kick everybody.
I never wanted to fight anyone. I had a very sweet disposition, and they show him swinging another human being and beating them with that other human being.
You can't go fast.
I love the way they cast the ones who survived, because obviously we don't get an older version of Juju Pepe because he died.
Oh my god!
But I love that Jeff Goldblum is old Andy Samberg.
There is no better world to live in.
I love that
Andy Samberg grows up to be Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. I love that Dolph Lundgren is old John Cena.
Mm-hmm. What about
I love fucking
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover wearing the ridiculous.
Yeah, he's wearing Slim's hair. That's amazing.
Yes.
Oh my
God.
God.
Was all great. Even that scene leading up to the fight where the crash was created by Juju Pepe having to swerve and grope some hot woman on the side of the road.
Right.
And everyone crashes and it turns into a huge fight like an Anchorman.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Every single person was involved in the crash.
One of the things that I think I actually took a minor spit take. I think a little water came out of my nose on this one. Is when Adrienne Baton is talking, and she was like talking about how she was like the first woman in the race, and she's like, and she had to disguise herself as a man because of how you say the vagina. Just like, that's amazing. and then later on, they Andy Samberg's character, what was his name?
Marty Haas.
Marty Haas and Adrienne Baton they end up like going behind a wall
Yes.
to have sex. Because I think as they put it, I have it written down here, something along the lines of like, all cyclists know that cycling is just to have sex up in the hills with other cyclists.
Yes.
Like, whatever this like rule is that they established in this film is hysterical. But then like he finds out that she's a woman, but goes with it anyway, and they fall in love. Like it's so bizarre. And then they give you the take later of Jeff Goldblum like thinking about her and how he hasn't reconnected with her. It's just all too silly. The whole thing.
I kind of forgot about this, and so I'm looking at his name, and it reminded me. There is 0% chance I can pronounce the man's name. So we'll call him the actor from G.I. Joe and Thor and many other things. Suicide Squad. He was Killer Croc. If you look at his name, he's British, but he's a black gentleman, and he often plays either British or African people.
What is his name? I don't know who you're talking about.
Look on the cast list. It's below the break where it's the rest of cast listed alphabetically. It's like Adewale is how you pronounce the first name. I have no idea.
Funny.
Yes.
Fuck Marty Haas.
The whole storyline, yeah, fuck Marty Haas. Andy Samberg's Marty Haas was from Nigeria, but he was born in Nigeria, but he was white, and he acted like he lived the African experience, even though his father clearly owned blood diamond mines, and he was very rich and went to American schools. And you get the Adewale, however you pronounce his last name, saying, fuck Marty Haas.
That's so great.
Over and over during the course of the thing. Everyone in Africa fucking hates him. But then it becomes that thing that one, there's the two things. One, he's giving the interview, and some random guy walks behind him and he goes, are you talking about Marty Haas? He goes, yes. Fuck Marty Haas.
It's so great.
And then there's the thing at the end of the race where he's saying, for a minute, everyone stopped hating Marty Haas because he had a real chance at winning, and it would be the first time an African ever won. So for that moment, I was proud of Marty Haas.
Yeah.
But fuck Marty Haas.
Yeah. I love what they did at the end there when he's like clearly gonna win because he's the only person there, and then Robinson, what was his name? Slim Robinson comes and catches up and then blows him away, but they do this thing like, it's neck and neck, it's so close, who's gonna be, and it's Slim by like a really long way. like that first angle didn't do it justice. They were not as close as we thought.
Yeah, I love when they explain it too. You see, the way that the shot was being taken, they looked like they were close, but upon this angle, you see that he was ahead by a good 100 feet. Yeah.
That's so silly. There's another character that I love. Are you familiar with Nathan Fielder's work?
I don't think so.
He had a show called Nathan for You.
Yeah, okay, I know.
Okay, so in that
I've seen like clips of that show. I haven't really watched much of it.
Basically, he would come in to a failing business and come up with a way to fix it, or not even a failing business, but just a business that is doing okay, and come up with a way that's going to make it do great, but it's a terrible idea, and it's clearly not going to work. And it's like a fake reality show where he just continues to do this, and it's very silly. But one of his best qualities is the way that he can deliver that deadpan humor, where he just delivers a line so matter of fact and shows no sign that he's trying to be funny at all, and it's just like, it kills me every time. So there's the scene real early on where they're talking about how the drugs that were on that were in Pepe's bloodstream.
Oh, he was the guy they were consulting from like the WADA or whatever, right?
Yeah. He's like I don't know. Well, what was he? Stu Ruckman. Whatever his position was. Yeah, he was supposed to monitor the blood and whatever. But he's so he's listing out everything that's in the bloodstream, and it starts, and he lists a couple of things out, but then he keeps going, and they're writing them out on the screen, and it fills the screen, and then it goes to the
like
next
50
column,
things.
and it fills the screen again. and then it goes to the other side of his body to fill the rest of the screen. And the whole time he's just saying these things so matter of factly, and it's it was cracking up. Cocaine, and like he's just crack, and he's just going through the list as if it's no big deal. And then later, again, when they bring his character back in, he talks about how he's like, you don't know what these drugs are like. And he's like, so what he does when he takes them, and they're like, wait, what? You've taken them? And he goes, yeah. He's like, you have to know what the effects are if you're going to be reporting on them. So he's like, so I paint when I take the drugs. And the first picture, the first one is, I think it was like, it was a cocaine, and he's sucking off a bear.
Yeah, something like that.
And then the next one, I forgot whatever it was, but it's like the same painting. And it goes, as you can see, these drugs have a similar effect.
Yes.
And he goes, and this is meth. And it was the bear sucking him off.
Yes.
And he goes, meth, very different than the other two. It's so stupid. I love it.
It's funny, I'm scrolling through this, and I completely forgot about the whole story with James Marsden as Rex Honeycutt, the reporter, who was racing alongside them to cover the story.
Mm-hmm. That leads into something amazing, though.
Yes.
The prison reveal.
The prison reveal.
So, Batom tackles him to the ground so that Marty Haas can win the race. And then they do a transition where they're showing like her looking back on it, and they show the older woman telling the story. And she's like, yeah, they're asking if they saw each other again afterwards. She's like, no, it wasn't easy since I've been in prison on account of the manslaughter. I've lost Al.
Yeah, I'm done.
He's disappeared. I've been in prison for the past however many years on account of the manslaughter, because when I tackled him to the ground, his head hit a rock and he died. And again, also just delivered like just so cut and dry that it kills me. I love that.
It's funny because that actually, I forgot about that until just now, but that parallels the scene in the very beginning. The very beginning of 7 Days in Hell is fucking hysterical. When you have, the hell was his name? Aaron Williams, who was Andy Samberg, playing against a rival in the 90s, and he's right there. He has to score one more point to win, and he serves and he murders one of the linesmen.
Oh my god!
And he hits the linesman, and the guy drops. And that whole scene is fucking perfect because yeah, I forgot about that completely. It was a couple of things. It was it was Jim Lampley and John McEnroe. Both of them were great playing themselves.
Yeah.
In that one, they were the two best of both movies. They were the two best of the people who were playing themselves. Mm. And Lampley goes, and you just hope that he's okay as he's laying there and no one's going to help him. And then it cuts back to the documentary part, and I think it was Fred Armisen's character saying he was very clearly
dead. Yeah.
And then they come back and they're stretchering him off very indelicately, he's slumping. Like if he was still alive, they were doing a horrible job supporting his neck. And they cut back to John McEnroe, and he goes, "Do I believe that Aaron Williams killed that linesman? Well, the ball hit him in the head, and then he had a heart attack. So, would I say that he's a murderer? Yeah, probably." Yeah. And then he goes to serve. He goes. What he should have done if he had any self-respect was he would have forfeited right there. Instead, he keeps playing, and he got what he deserved. And he goes to take the next serve, and they say, "Okay, everyone, quiet in the stands," as they do in those majors. And he goes to serve, and you just hear very clearly screamed, "Murderer!"
Yep.
And so it all just falls apart. I was almost crying watching that because I completely forgot about it the first time I watched it.
Oh my god!
And I just it was so great that she was in jail for manslaughter because she tackled him and his head hit the rock and he died. And there was Aaron Williams hitting the guy with the tennis ball, but then he had a heart attack that killed him.
Right.
But everyone thought he was a murderer.
It's so stupid. Were there any other Tour de Pharmacy things that you wanted to go on? Because we can totally dive into 7 Days in Hell.
Well, just two things really, kind of related. One, the names of the characters in these two things are freaking hysterical.
Yeah, you were cracking up about this before we even started.
Juju Pepe, Gustav Dittmer Clerkin, who was Kevin Bacon, who was funny as shit. The press conference he gives when he talks about his alleged corruption, where he clearly admits to the two very illegal things that he does.
Yep.
And he goes,
It's so great.
And he just keeps
now you're not
digging
going to
a
believe me
deeper
if
hole.
I tell you that I didn't do it because I said first that I did. This is such a mess.
People are saying that I sent everyone a message saying that if you pay me $50,000, I will not do this. Wait, who's saying that? I very much did not do that.
So stupid. I love it.
But yeah, that was really it. The Kevin Bacon thing and the names. Because he only had a couple of little scenes, but he was funny in that. Like, I think he was wearing a ridiculous wig too, wasn't he?
Wait, who was wearing one?
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, was it or was it a hat?
Maybe his hat. I know he was wearing something really funky.
Yeah, I think he had like a cowboy hat on.
Because the big one was maybe he did. No, Lance Armstrong had the cowboy hat, didn't he?
He did, but I'm pretty sure he had like one of those cowboy hats with the sides turned up.
Maybe he did. Either way, his very short bit of screen, he was like the secret undercover MVP of this. He was funny as shit in this.
Too much.
But
that was great.
Yes.
Because he comes out of nowhere.
Yes.
And
because they say his name a couple times. They say Dittmer Clerkin couple times, but they don't show him. And then he finally comes on screen, and it's like, oh my god!
You're like, oh my god, that's Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
So stupid. So now into our better one of the two. 7 Days in Hell. So with Tour de Pharmacy, like I laughed a decent amount of time. Like they got a couple of good chuckles out of me, and like I said, there was at least one either full spit take or almost. But 7 Days in Hell, like I feel like I'm just laughing the whole time. Like there's like a subtle laugh going at least the entire 45 minutes that it's on.
And a couple of really just outright hysterical things.
Oh yeah,
like that opening scene, and he pushes the Duke of Kent, and
the push heard round the world.
And I don't remember if it was Fred Armisen or Will Forte. One of them says, "You just cannot push the Duke."
Yeah. The two of them were the gems of this movie.
Yes.
Their testimonials to the camera are just fantastic. Will Forte in particular, because the line that he delivers towards the end where he goes, "It was 7 days in hell." And the cameraman goes, "Why did you look directly at the camera?" He goes, "I think that would be a good title for this thing." Yes.
Well, that was the other thing is, of all the people who played themselves, Lampley and McEnroe, and McEnroe's always been willing to ham it up, even in his own normal work, covering tennis and just sports in general. I've heard him; he's actually really smart on sports in general. I've heard him on some of the New York sports talk radio on ESPN. But when they're watching, when they're showing early on in the film, when they were showing when it was 200 games to 199 games or something like that in the final set, and one of them goes, "Please God, let this end." Yeah. On the actual broadcast coverage of the match.
Right.
And later in the thing, Lampley goes, "I don't even like tennis. This was driving me insane." Yeah.
But
McEnroe had the whole thing
tennis. Yeah, he I love his attitude the whole time, because he's just like he knows how ridiculous the whole situation was, and he's like, his delivery of it is as if it happened in this real world of tennis.
Yes.
And he's just like, yeah. Like he's a dick, basically, is what he's saying about Andy Samberg's character.
Oh, and then the other thing, I don't remember what they were talking about. I had completely forgot about this as well. It's maybe like 2/3 of the way through. They get into an intense discussion about was it something in someone's bloodstream or something? And it goes off on a tangent for like 5 minutes, and they have guys like Lampley and McEnroe and a couple other people talking as experts on this topic, and I'm like, why would they ever? No, it was the courtroom sketch artist, and like you have John McEnroe completely deadpan talking about how every courtroom sketch artist for the last 20 years got into the game because of this Swedish courtroom sketch artist. I'm like, why the fuck would John McEnroe be the one ever talking about this as an expert in the field? He was an expert in the field of Swedish courtroom sketch artists.
That was amazing.
I remember watching it, I was like, I forgot how long this scene went on for, and why the fuck is McEnroe the one who's being talked at as the expert about this?
Oh my god. That's so fantastic. I loved the Duke.
Yes, I forgot and didn't realize that was Howie Mandel.
Mm-hmm. That ridiculous hair that he had.
Oh, the super aggressive, like
it looks like a fighter from Tekken. You know, that was amazing, and he was like protruding his teeth.
Yeah, I think he was wearing some sort of mouth guard thing or whatever.
God.
Yeah,
it was so funny. He was just talking like this. It was amazing. It was so funny, and that scream that he lets out when he gets pushed to the ground, and that they loop over.
Oh yeah, so over beautiful. The top. And the other one was what's his name? Michael Sheen as Caspian Wint, who had the talk show on tennis in England.
Was it?
What was it?
I think it was Good Sport.
Something like that.
That was such a creepy ass character.
I know. From the very first scene where he's standing in front of the camera, smoking the cigarette,
sweating profusely.
His hair is all over the place. He's got like a lot of stubble, and he's wearing a fat suit with a huge gut, and he's got a blazer on, which is barely buttoned with the one button, and the button looks like it's about to burst over the fake gut he's wearing, and he's like slouches his shoulders down, and he's smoking the cigarette, like flopping his wrist out, like kind of effeminately as he's doing it.
Oh my god, those two, and then just like the horrible inappropriateness with Kit Harington's character.
Yeah, and, there was I forget who, I don't remember if it was, I would say it was Fred Armisen saying it was very obvious that Caspian Wint was interested in him sexually.
Yeah, I think it was Fred Armisen. His character also he's got such a great delivery too. He's funny, that guy.
Oh yeah,
he's
everything I've seen him in. He's hysterical.
Edward Pudding was his name.
Yes. No, there's more great names in this too. Edward Pudding, what's it? Yeah, Caspian Wint. You know, all these different. You know, there was Charles Lloyd Poole. Like all this stuff. Like it was like the douchiest like British tennis name you could think of. Like
it was great. Kit Harington was hysterical too.
Yeah, that was the funny thing that I remember when the first time I was going to see it. I was like, I'm really interested in this. And I'm really interested in seeing how he does in this, because he's the only thing he's been in is Game of Thrones, and he's mostly very serious, and he doesn't get there's comedic relief on that show, but he's very rarely the one who delivers it.
Right. Yeah, it was cool to see him in that role. I mean, like, and he just like plays this really awkward young guy.
Dumb.
Yeah, he's real dumb, indubitably.
Indubitably. Was it McEnroe who says it was pretty obvious that someone taught him the word and he had no idea what it meant?
Yeah. Oh, indubitably. There's a great scene in the I forget what it is. I think it's like the second or third time the Queen calls him and tells him to win
Queen, she was my kind of like MVP for the first time I watched it. Whoever that like old lady is who plays her was fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
Like
just double flipping him off.
Oh, I know. Yeah, right on the middle of the court. Like
it was great.
And all of it. No, I mean every single part of it. Even the very first voicemail she leaves, which is very kindly and kind of how you would expect, a doddering old lady to sound. Charles Poole. we're so very proud of you, and we're
very Mrs.
really looking
Doubtfire.
forward to seeing you. Yes, we're very much looking forward to seeing you win. We're also very excited, and this and that. And then after he doesn't smoke him the way he's supposed to at the beginning, you get the next voicemail. So, Charles, it's me again, the Queen of England.
Right.
You little fuck slut.
Oh, so it was when he gets the second one. It's when he gets the second voicemail, and he's very quiet, and he kind of runs off camera, and he runs away, and the cameraman follows him. But then it goes into for a 30 seconds. It's a horror movie, and the camera's chasing him down the hall, but he's gone. And they turn the corner, and the music goes ring, and he's just standing in the corner with his face against the wall. It's what the hell is going on? It's so stupid.
I know.
They definitely had such a good time making this, And
it's the Queen calling him a little fuck slut and
over
saying,
and over.
At the very end of it, she goes, "I'm drunk."
Yeah. And then she beats him up in the elevator.
Yes.
It's brilliant. She just whacks him with
he's on the phone with the mother, who was terrible. Mom, I couldn't do anything about it. She was already in the elevator. They show the elevator footage, and they override the door, and the two Secret Service guys come in with the Queen, and they're holding him, and she's beating him with the cane.
Oh my god. She told me she's gonna hit me where it doesn't show.
Yeah, she says she beat me where there's no bruises, and he's hitting him in the chest.
It's so ridiculous. And then we get into the whole thing where obviously the matches are going on forever and ever, and they're starting to get into each other's heads, and we get to the point where Aaron Williams gets in his car and he's hit by a truck.
Yes.
And then the way they deliver the news that Charles Poole has his trucking license is amazing, and then they don't touch on it again until there's another press conference. And Aaron Williams is like, "Why do we even look into the guy who has a truck license?" And he's pointing over to him. It's so funny. And he's just like,
"I wasn't even just that," because they showed the thing. It was a really clever setup, because they said, how Charles Poole was this prodigy and playing since he was 3, and at 15 he was going pro, and that the mother found a loophole by sending him to a vocational school where he'd learn how to drive a truck.
Right.
And then you hear no one suspected that Charles Poole, who had a trucking license, would have been involved in the situation. And then they go to the press conference with Poole, and he goes, "Oh, I heard my competitor was hit by a truck today. That's really too bad." And he's completely monotone as he's giving.
So stupid.
And someone asks him a question, and he just freezes up. And then, like you said at the end, why is no one asking about him with the trucking license?
Yeah. It's so stupid.
They had the whole tangent with Aaron Williams going to Sweden and creating the underwear where your balls hang out of the underwear.
Yep. That was another scene that was it was really uncomfortable, but then all of a sudden it got me to chuckle. It's like the guy's balls are hanging out of the underwear, and he's got the stick, and he's just like, boop.
He's pointing them,
boop. He's just slightly lifting them. And I was like, oh my god, this is so awkward, but it's so funny.
And they're all gibbering in Swedish and
Yeah, he sounds like Swedish Chef.
Yes.
Which I'm sure was intentional.
And then he gets sent to prison because he won't pay the fines or whatever, and then they do the digital recreation of the daily orgies in the showers.
Yep.
Where all of them are just having the time of their life. All these dudes are fucking each other. And how that's where they saw the press conference, where one of the entire walls of the shower where the daily orgy happens is where they had the press conference where Charles Poole says that he's better than him. Mm-hmm. And he says, and there's a Swedish loophole where if you break out of prison, you're a free man. And he just escapes from prison and no one pursues him.
So good. I love that. Oh my god. And then you get into the matches themselves and all the crazy nonsense that's going on. So first you have he's doing coke, right? It's in his we all knew he was doing coke, and then what is it? Fred Armistead's character. It's like in England, it's not polite to point things out.
Yes.
So you knew he was on
sneaky
cocaine.
about it.
Oh, yeah.
He thought he was being sneaky about it, and they show him snorting it out of the bottle. He's snorting it out of the handle of the racket.
Right.
And then what's his name says, I believe he even put some of it on the court, and he dives for a point, and then jams his face into the lines on the court, and starts snorting the lines.
Well, it was Serena Williams, her brother, his sister. I'm sorry. Who
they photoshopping him into the photo with her and Venus was.
She's like, it was in his water bottle. She goes, it was hidden in his racket. It was in his Coke necklace.
His Coke necklace.
So you have him doing coke on the field, and then you have the streaker, which is something that we had mentioned in the talking about the previous one, where the penis comes on. Yeah. Chris Romano, and then you have this absurd. He was the second streaker.
Yes, after the female streaker who he had sex with for 5 hours.
Right. Then he has sex with the male streaker, and then he has sex with both of them.
Both of them, yes.
And it's just a very uncomfortable, very long, gratuitous sex scene happening on the court. And then you have Charles Poole just laying down.
Yeah, that was great. He just turns it into the same way that he's against the wall. He lays down on his stomach with his hands by his side, and he's just got his face on the ground.
And then there was when he's having sex with the male streaker.
Jim Lampley.
What?
Jim Lampley says something too. He goes, "You would have thought that having sex for 5 hours in the court would have been cause for disqualification, but apparently there's no rule on the books."
Right. There's
it was a bleeding stalling tactic.
Oh my god, it's too much. And then on top of another crazy thing that happens then on the field, which probably one of my favorite ones, is when they're like, "What? Oh my god!" And then they pan the camera over, and David Copperfield is on Charles Poole's shoulders.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, David Copperfield, the best friend of Aaron Williams.
Right. He was like, I was doing a trick where I was supposed to end up on the Statue of Liberty, but I ended up here instead. Mistakes happen.
I love ridiculous. They show and Charles Poole is really unraveling here as he's looking around paranoid as he keeps missing shots. And Lampley goes, "You really can't blame the young man, as I would be afraid too if David Copperfield would just magically appear on my shoulder."
Oh my god. It's so great. Will Forte, as I mentioned earlier, like he was really funny. I love like the testimonials that he's giving during the movie, but he's also like he's insanely vulgar at some points, and he's just completely disgusting. And
yes.
It makes it so much better. But he's another funny dude.
And I forgot about the what's it called? The interview he does with Soledad O'Brien, Charles Poole, where she asks him what's his strategy, and he literally describes the game of tennis to her.
Yes.
First I start off with the serve, and then he returns the serve, and then I return it back, and I try and hit the ball to where he isn't, and then if he returns it, I hit the ball where he isn't again. And then sometimes the ball goes outside of the lines. I don't like that very much, but I do like it when he hits it out of the lines. So yeah, and she goes, "Yes, I'm aware of how the game of tennis is played."
Yeah. I liked Aaron Williams' Joe Dirt hair.
Oh yeah,
It was so stupid, and how
I forgot about him pulling the wig off.
Yeah, and like how that rattles him for a game.
Yes,
it's so great. And then another Serena Williams talking about him early on and how they reverse blindsided him. That is how she put it, and I was like, that is just fantastic.
Yeah, you have the movie The Blind Side, where a rich white family adopts a black kid, and then they have him play football. Well, we were a rich black family that adopted a white kid and made him play tennis. It's a reverse blindside.
So the last, there's only two other things that I wanted to touch on. One is, actually, before I even get into this is the spoiler territory where it's actually, if you've gotten this far and you haven't seen it, I would suggest that you stop and go watch before I tell you what happens at the end of this.
Yes, because this one definitely has a much more surprising ending. They tried to force the surprise at the end of Tour de Pharmacy,
right.
And I was genuinely surprised by how this one ended.
Right. So that's your warning. Spoilers coming in full here, and it's a good one. So at the very end, when they run up on each other and they clock each other in the heads and they die.
Yes,
and that is hysterical. But what I love is what follows all of that, and that's when they do like the little interviews of like how the two of them respected each other and looked up to each other.
Yes,
and then Andy Samberg's character says some line, and then he goes, "Oh man, if I ever die, that should be the last line of my doc."
Yeah, so it just ends.
It ends. It's like, oh my god, that's fantastic. And they just had they must have had a blast making these movies. And I honestly, like, 2 years in between them, they're 45 minutes long. It probably takes that long for them to stop laughing and make these movies.
Oh, yeah. And they said that was one of the stories they talked about with the making of this one, how it was such hard work making the first one, so they tried to pick a sport that they thought would be easier to do, that the cycling they thought was going to be easier, and it was like 10 times harder. Mm-hmm. And he goes, by the time we get to the third one, like, it's going to be chess. Like, it's going to be a game of chess because it's just too hard to shoot all of that.
It's too hard. That's great. Were there any other notes that you had?
Hang on, let me see here. No, I had the Queen, Michael Sheen. No, that was all the things I wrote down. I mean, just other than, like, it kind of crossed my mind as the ending was approaching. I was like, this is going to end with one of them dying, isn't it?
Right.
I was surprised that it was the two of them killing each other the way that the Step Brothers fight ends, where they have the baseball bat and the golf club, and it hits it, and then they play the music, and they both collapse, except this one ended with them dying, not just passing out.
It's really funny that you say that, because like, when I watched it the first time, I didn't think that, oh, this is going to end with one of them dying. But at the end, when she said let them fight, and they both start running in slow motion, I'm like, oh, they're both going to die. Like, yeah. it was instant.
Well, at that point, it wouldn't have felt right if one of them had beaten the other, right?
Right.
So but that was the thing I was trying to parse out as it was going on, is I was like, oh, it's weird, because what's his name was such a heavy favorite, because Aaron Williams hadn't played for years and years, and so like 6 years or something like that. And the whole story about how the cocaine made him resurgent and everything like that. Mm-hmm. I forgot about, we've talked about her in other episodes, which is weird. Karen Gillan is the girlfriend. I completely forgot that's who that was in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole storyline with what's his name cheating with her and watching the sex tape. I completely forgot about that. They talked about the thing where Aaron Williams is walking back after scoring a point, and he does the finger motion. And they're all...
What did you just do? What did you just do? What? Nothing.
See,
what?
And they're like, well, see, the thing is, he acted like he had no idea about the sex tape, but there's no way he would have responded that way unless he had seen the sex tape.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That was fun. I'm excited to see whatever the next one is going to be, and even if you haven't watched them and somehow listened to the rest of this, you should totally go watch it anyway, because our rambling about it doesn't do it justice. You have to just enjoy it, especially if you're a fan of him. I find Andy Samberg to be hysterical. I know you're not a huge fan, but you liked these things.
Yeah, I really liked these, and I liked some of the stuff. Like, I was never a big Saturday Night Live fan, but some of his really classic, skits I found really funny. The collaborations between him and Justin Timberlake. They did Dick in a Box and Mother Lover. Those are hysterical. The I Jizzed in My Pants one that he did was fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have albums, full albums of these.
Well, those are the Lonely Island ones, and I know I've seen bits of some of those, but I can't even really recall any of them. Mm-hmm. But I don't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I've never really gotten into any of the movies he's in. Like, I never wanted to see Hot Rod, and I never wanted to see the one with him and Adam Sandler.
Oh, I love Hot Rod.
I watched the first 5 minutes, couldn't get into it.
Yeah. I was a fan of when they did the Awesome Town stuff, like, way back when. And that Hot Rod is basically just a movie-long version of that, and it's fantastic. If you like that stuff. Well, you good?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm good. You good? I'm good.
Good.
All right. That's it for this week's Flix and a Six. Check out Spinchoon.com each week for a new episode and a random article. You don't ask for them, but damn it, we'll keep delivering them. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, cheers.